Hello and welcome back to the Game Bet Match podcast. I'm your host, Manny Friedman, along with my co-host.
Brad Sloan.
Back in the house, baby, for the Aussie Open Finals.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Oi, oi,
Oi, oi, oi. Yep.
oi!
This fortnight we've been consistent. We've done the pod every round, which has been fantastic. I wish we could do
Well,
that for
except for
every
the first
tournament.
two. First two, there's just way too much action.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, so as far as the semis went, I mean, Sinner pretty much destroyed Djokovic. I guess that's a accurate description of the match. I mean, Djokovic played terribly for his
Djokovic
standards.
destroyed himself, I felt. I didn't even think Sinner played top notch. I think Sinner has played better. Like, I,
Yeah,
I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to judge Sinner's performance, I think, because Djokovic was so bad and Sinner just like good on him, to be honest. Like,
right.
he didn't get like too, sometimes guys get like all mentally messed up when the other guy's really struggling and Sinner didn't. And he kind of just kept his like normal rhythm. But I didn't like, I don't know. It wasn't like, I didn't think it wasn't the best match he's ever played or anything like that. You know what I mean? I thought it was a very like B plus performance from Sinner, but it's hard to judge because like that's all he needed.
I don't know. I just think like more credit has to be given to Sinner because there has to be a factor in which like Sinner played well, which forced Djokovic to play worse than his normal level. Like that has to be
I don't
slightly
think
part of it.
so.
No?
I don't think. I mean, maybe a little bit. I don't know, man. Like, because I would say, in addition to the Djokovic, is like we've seen Djokovic miss before, but usually like you'll see him, he'll get angry, he'll really start yapping at the box, he'll start
Yeah.
smashing a racket, he'll do
Yeah,
something.
that's
He
true.
almost like accepted it. It was a very like weird.
It
Even when he
was.
won the third set, he wasn't like as excited as you would expect for normal Djokovic. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was so yeah, like that's more what gives me that like like it was very.
Yeah, he was very resigned throughout the whole match. Like no real energy, like no nothing. Like it's true. It was a weird match. Like I haven't seen him play like that in forever. And he said that
And
in
there
the
was
press
no
conference.
yeah, and there was no bathroom break after the second set, which he could have done just for the just for the
Yeah.
like I feel like usually if he would be like if he believed, like you usually would see him do that, like
Yeah.
take the bathroom break, get off the court, um just to reset his mind.
Yeah.
But there was none of that. It was just like it was going against him and he wasn't really he either knew he couldn't do anything about it or yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, I don't think it obviously wasn't like it obviously wasn't like it didn't want to. I think it was more of just like
Yeah.
didn't have knew it wasn't in the cards.
And he was sick, to start the event. He did say that. The wrist thing didn't seem to be that much of a concern. Like, so I don't
Yeah.
really know if you could blame injury. It was just yeah,
Could have
you're
been
right. It
illness.
was
Could
just
have been
a
illness.
weird performance from Djokovic. Almost disappointing.
My bet is illness.
Yeah, it may have been illness, may have been, but like,
Because like it was a very like again because like regardless of anything else, it was just like to your point, the mental part of it, the energy part of it, like not
yeah,
just the missing, but like but yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean that.
But I thought Sinner did some good things tactically. One thing I
Mhm.
wanted to mention, Gil Gross mentioned it actually, I think, but Sinner did a really good job of not trying to hit through Djokovic. And I think that coming into this match with Medvedev in the final, I think that's actually gonna be a really interesting thing to see is how much he tries to hit through Medvedev versus hitting around him. Because I think in the final too, he'll be better off going with angles and like kind of doing
Mhm.
that forehand when he loops it and like rolls it out wide. I think could work wonders against Medvedev.
Well, hitting through Djokovic is never a good strategy because it just doesn't work. You need to be consistent and hit like five or six aggressive balls in a point, but to big targets. I feel like this thing like people say, oh, you got a red line against Novak, you got to be real aggressive. Like that's not necessarily the strategy. I think that gets overblown.
I don't know how many guys can execute. This is like the way that Sinner did against him, though, either,
Yeah,
right? I mean, that
true.
like that's like if you put a guy like Taylor, put a guy like Taylor Fritz in that spot and could Taylor Fritz execute that game plan?
No, you can't. Not over 4 or 5 sets, right? He could
Yeah.
do it for two
So I
sets,
mean,
which
and
you
that's why I have to
saw.
give credit Sinner credit too. Like that's why I don't think it's a to your point, Manny. I don't think it's like a credit list performance for Sinner. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah,
like I give him a B plus, and that's what he had to be, and but he managed to be that, and like there's something to be said about that, about like when you're in a weird situation and all you have to have and you have to have your B game, but you're in a weird situation where there's factors that could throw you off of that, maintaining that B game. There's something to be said for that. I mean, look, how many times has a guy been injured and we've
right.
seen the opponent really struggle against that and start doing
Yeah.
stupid things, either overhitting, underhitting, yada yada. Sinner didn't do that. He just studied the course.
Yeah, yeah, credit to him and losing that match point in the third set and then coming back in the fourth and finding the break and holding on like it's he's definitely the green arrow is going up next to Sinner's name. That's for sure. There's no doubt
Well, I
about
just thought it was really good. Like I thought it was a good like really good like mental performance from him.
it. And I think, I know the MP9 guys brought it up, but like credit has to go to Darren Cahill. Just for, the kind of mental improvements that they brought to Sinner's game. And physically, I mean, he hasn't been physically challenged, so we don't that might still be a question mark, but if he can win this easily, if physicality doesn't really even come into play, he's been broken twice the entire tournament, which is crazy. It's crazy. Once against VDZ and once against Kachanov, I believe.
Yeah.
So like the
Yeah.
only and he's playing good returners. He's playing Novak, Rublev,
Yeah.
not get broken is that's pretty impressive. So I just think like his ball striking is just so hard to deal with. Like no one hits as clean of a ball as he does right now on tour. I don't think it's like necessarily that close, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
from both wings.
I mean, I think Fritz is pretty close in terms of his pure clean ball. But Sinner can do so much more now.
But he's
Um,
hitting that ball out of the corners better than, before, right? Like that the ball striking on the run is way better than Fritz.
yeah. Well, he moves better than Fritz does. I mean, I'm not arguing that Fritz is better than Sinner. I'm just saying in terms of like pure ball striking, it's probably pretty close. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, he's striking the ball really well. And
Yeah.
to your point, he's striking the ball really well out of different positions.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. As far as the Medvedev Zverev match, Jesus. Uh I Medvedev, I mean, he just has that mental edge. You brought it up on
He
the
invoked
pod.
the force. I told you he was going to invoke the force. And he clearly did. I mean,
He
the funniest
clearly
point in that
did.
match, I think it was like 5-6 when the one ball that Zverev was like way in, the one backhand, and Medvedev kept
Yeah.
like waiting for the replay.
Yeah, that
And
was
he
that
was
was
clearly just
hilarious. I
stalling for
remember.
time, and Zverev started whining about it. And I was like, Zverev, like,
Yeah.
no, don't do this.
Yeah.
Like,
Slightly bush league from Medvedev, but Medvedev, it's a tactic for him. He knows that he has that mental edge, right?
and I think he really just doesn't. I mean, these guys clearly don't like each other.
Yeah,
Like, I
they
don't
do.
think Medvedev would do that against a lot of guys, but I think against Zverev, he truly doesn't care. Because I think like
Yeah,
there's
I agree
truly
with
no
that.
love. Like, that's a true rivalry.
Agreed. Agreed. They don't like each other for sure. I mean, they've had some like cordial moments, I would say. They were on Labor Cup teams and stuff, but like you could clearly see some animosity for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I agree with you there. Um, yeah, that was a really funny moment. And like Zverev started whining and like I knew it was like a clear tactic. Like Medvedev didn't need to see that
Oh, it
ball.
was
He didn't
obvious.
care.
It was obvious. I mean, like
Right.
he knew, and it wasn't even that close. Like, you know what I mean? It was, yeah, it was. It wasn't even the ball wasn't even that close. Like Zverev was absolutely right. Like Zverev wasn't wrong, but it
Yeah.
was also like you could clearly tell Medvedev was getting to Zverev's head, which is why it was funny. Like,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just funny, like the way that Medvedev comes up with like new ways to do it constantly.
Uh-huh. Yeah, just out of the
Like,
blue, just like a random thing. But
yeah,
Medvedev, I mean, we have to give credit to his physicality. I mean, the guy
I don't.
never
I actually
breaks
disagree
down.
here. Like,
No?
I thought both guys were pretty gassed after the first two sets, and there really wasn't much tennis being played in the third or fourth. It was a lot of like you kind of like fifth set energy, I think is what McEnroe
Huh.
referred to it as, where they take like a couple of big swipes at a couple of first couple of returns, and if they don't get it, then they just give up a hold. Like,
Yeah, but
you
I mean,
know,
physicality also refers to finding that second gear, and like managing lulls and all that. Like that's part of that equation, in my opinion. Like he played so much tennis, so many long matches, and like he
yeah,
still finds a way, you know? Something
yeah.
to be said about that.
I mean, if you're saying that, like, look, and I guess to say it the other way, like, yeah, to your point, like he's very mentally tough, and
Mhm.
he's able to find different ways. Yeah, to your point, he's able to find different ways to manage through it, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I from that perspective, sure. I felt like it had to be called out, so I didn't see it called out as much. How the third and fourth sets were really pretty
Yeah, you're right. It was to get to the tiebreak, kind of like.
I want to say it was lame efforts from both guys, but like that's really unfair to use that kind of terminology. It was just both guys were clearly gassed.
Yeah, and Zverev was the better player for the first, what, 2.5 sets, I would say.
I'd say the first two sets. Like the third set,
Okay.
really. I mean, Zverev had the love 30, I think, and maybe he made one or two. Medvedev hit an ace, I think, at love 30, gets a 15-30, and then like Zverev might have played 1 or 2 points that I didn't think were great. I actually thought Zverev used the down the line backhand too much. He was making so much progress in cross court
I agree with
backhand to
that.
backhand cross court
Yeah.
rallies. And late in the match, I thought he tried way too much to go to the down the line backhand.
But it's
And I
it's probably fatigue that factored into that, right? Like he tried to
just
open up
wanted
the
to end
court.
points and didn't want to continue the rallies,
Yeah,
probably. We could see the fatigue in the fifth
you could.
because Zverev couldn't, he just wasn't hitting in the fifth, he wasn't hitting the backhand
Well, he was
well.
missing easy volleys. He was also mentally fatigued. You could see that too,
Yeah.
like. And like I think the Alcaraz match, like even though that he won pretty comfortably in the end, like I think mentally that was a straining match for him because like to lose the lead in the third and then, to come back in the fourth took a big mental effort. And like that's a big win as well. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah. I
the
mean, look, he had played a
cumulative effect.
lot. They both had played a lot of tennis to get there.
Yeah,
And I mean, you could see it on both of them. So,
you
but
could. You could.
again, like I agree completely. Credit to Medvedev for finding a way to pull through. I also thought it was interesting. Medvedev, I thought he did a good job returning. I mean, I'll bring it up again, a few more times.
Hmm.
But I thought he did a good job of returning when he stepped up to the like closer to the baseline to return. I thought he did a good job of returning from there.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting as just a tactics switch. I don't know if it mattered as much, and I guess it mattered a little bit because Zverev was doing some serve and volleying. I thought it was good to see Zverev come out with that game plan too. And for the first, I mean, I thought he played Zverev. Actually, I thought played pretty well the first two sets.
He did. He did.
um, and then I think he got tired physically and mentally. But yeah, but I didn't think it was like, it was a weird match in that the third and fourth set they were really like two of the cleaner tiebreak sets, like cleaner service hold sets both ways
Hmm.
for two guys who are really good returners.
Yeah, they were managing themselves. So as you said, like
Yeah.
if they got a 30 love, they would just kind of like, you know, tank that game and wait, focus on their next service game. You could see that. I mean, it's and I don't necessarily blame them considering how
Oh, I
much
don't either.
they both
Like
played,
I'm saying it happened, and it's I think important to call it out. But
Yeah.
it's just a matter. It's just a point of analysis. It's not a blame.
Yeah, and how much like with these two guys, how much of it do you think is mental gap between the two players, like Medvedev just being way mentally stronger, or is it the psychological edge he has over Zverev? Like for me, I kind of think it's a combination of both. Like I think Medvedev is way mentally stronger than Zverev,
Yeah, I mean, I think there's well, no,
right?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to discern between the two, to be honest. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
either one. I
yeah,
mean,
it's true. Either
look, I mean,
one.
what? Like,
Yeah.
I definitely think Medvedev is like the first is definitely true that Medvedev's a much stronger player than Zverev mentally,
Hmm.
and then the second is true also. But like, I'm not sure. Like is the second like it's a chicken egg kind of question, but the first is definitely true. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean like Zverev is now what 1-7 in semis and finals of slams, I think, and his one win is over
Yeah.
Busta
Right.
from 2 sets down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
the greatest record, to be honest. So, I mean, I also thought that this was a totally different matchup. Like he had success against Alcaraz, but Medvedev is going to force you to win. You know, he's going to force you to come up with the goods. Whereas Alcaraz, if he has a bad day, he's beatable. You know. Um.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So
And honestly, that's a lot of what Medvedev like. Again, I thought it was disappointing from Zverev that like I thought he had opportunities on some big points to just keep drilling those cross court backhands
yeah.
because it's like every time they went cross court backhand to cross court backhand, Zverev was dominant.
Well, he has
Like
the edge in
Medvedev's
that
backhand
pattern
was
of
not
play against pretty
what.
much any. He has the edge in that pattern of play against pretty much any tour.
But again, but some guys can at least like I don't know, like and obviously like Novak's the greatest of all time, but like Novak usually will eventually stretch and hit one down the line to at least like keep him off balance or like make him think about it, or he'll hit
Right.
like a short slice or a short roller to get him out of the slot. Like Medvedev wasn't really doing too much to stop it.
Yeah.
He was kind of just shoveling it back and letting Zverev rip again. And I don't think his backhand up the line is good enough to really. He tried it a few times, but then Zverev would have like pretty easy forehands to open the court up again.
Yeah.
So like that's why I thought it was disappointing because I thought,
Well, Medvedev's backhand is so flat, right? It's like a shovel backhand. So when he goes over the
yeah,
higher part of the net, it's a way lower margin shot, right? So
yeah,
I think,
and he
that's
doesn't get much
part of
on
it.
it.
Yeah, he
Like
doesn't. He just pushes it down the line. He steers it there, you know.
yeah,
So, yeah. All right, so that's for the recap. I have to say from a betting perspective, it was a fantastic day for me. I
yeah.
only
For me, it wasn't. I had the
it wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah. You
What's
had
your
the two money
frustration?
lines, right? That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I had some props. I had the Sinner to break in sets 1 and 2, which hit. But then I had a few
Yeah.
other props that didn't, that were more. I had like Djokovic to win and have most doubles. Djokovic to have at least 5 doubles. I
Yeah.
can't remember what else I had, but yeah.
So the only bet I lost that day was the Sinner Djokovic over 40 and a half. But I hit the Sinner money line last minute at plus 180 just because of the wind factor. Like,
Yep.
thanks for pointing that out, by the way. I was at work the entire day and then you told me 20-mile-per-hour winds. I'm not liking my Djokovic money line. And I was like, okay, I'll hit the Sinner money line. Because like that's a
Yeah.
huge thing. So Djokovic doesn't like the wind. Like
No, and we said it
historically.
before, and that is worth calling out. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised nobody asked me about it at the presser.
They were probably just so in shock about like how he played that like they didn't even think about that at the end, Like,
Well, I think there's two things. I think it was a like how many questions he's not gonna he's not gonna give you much of an answer, right? Like it was,
yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I had the
it was a weird
Djokovic.
presser because it felt like the press didn't know what to ask because they knew Djokovic wasn't gonna say much no matter what they asked. So
Yeah.
like, what was the point?
Yeah, he said what I thought he would say. I mean, it's nothing surprising to me. Like he gave credit to Sinner. He's a very gracious loser, you know.
Yeah, usually
Um,
unless it's curious.
but now they have like a bromance, so he'd probably be gracious in that there too.
Yeah, now he would. Now he would. But
Yeah.
I think the one time he lost, he was like he served well, congratulations or something. And that was like the
Yeah, they had some beef earlier. I had the Djokovic Sinner over 190.5 minutes, 3 hours and 10 minutes, at minus 120. I thought that was a, really good line. I wish I hit it in the Medvedev-Zverev match. I think it was like a little bit higher than that, but
yeah,
I,
I think it was good. I think it was like I think you were basically buying yourself a few games on the over under on the total.
I don't necessarily
Like
think so because like one injury timeout, one like instance where you had a medical emergency in the stands, one bathroom break, one like 70-minute set, any of those or like any long deuce game, I've seen straight set matches go over that, you know?
yeah, but you weren't gonna have that happen unless there were like multiple tie breaks and like 3 long sets with 2 tie
Fair.
breaks or something. Like you needed. I mean, basically, like I think it was good because like the over under was like 40
39,
or
40.
41, right?
Yeah.
And I think what you basically got was like the equivalent of an over under of like 37 or 38, which is like that's brilliant. Like that's a great bet. Like that's 100% an awesome
Hmm.
bet. Um, but that's why I said I think you bought yourself a few games on the over under. Basically, I think
Okay.
you basically got to play the over. And actually, in this case, it didn't even go. It only went 37, and you still got there. But you got a tiebreak, which is kind of like 2 games, especially because it was a long tiebreak. So like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true. But we had a 6-1, we had a 6-2 set, we had a 6-3 set. It's not like we
But
had
that's my point. You had 37 total games, but one of those games was a long
right.
tiebreak. So you basically had like
Okay.
38 to 38 and a half games, something like that. And that's why I'm saying like it was, like, but I thought it was
But
a good bet because
but
like the over
it
under was
got
41
there
and a
with
half.
only one long set though. And in a match like that, you're anticipating at least 2 long sets, right?
Probably, but you can always have a straight setter. You never know.
Okay. Okay.
Like I said, I think it was great. Like I think it was great
Yeah.
because like the over under was 40 and a half
Yeah.
or 41, and you got 38, which is like fucking fantastic. Like I'm not
Right.
trying to say that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
yes, it's a fantastic bet. But I don't think you were getting the equivalent of like an over under of like 34 games or something like that. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like,
Fair. 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 I had the center to break in sets 1 and 2 at plus 185. That was one of the like most sweat free plus 185s we've had. It's the easiest money we're gonna make all year.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, that
That's
was nice.
amazing. In the Medvedev-Zverev, I had the over 41 and a half games, which was a sweat because it could have been straight sets. Medvedev money line and both to win a set at plus 140. I had both guys to break in the first set. There were 5 breaks in the first set. That cashed easily at plus 160. I had 2 units on the Zverev over 71.5% first serve percentage. I know we had a discussion about this. You said it's kind of easy to get swayed by juice, right? Like because it was minus 130. I still think it was a great bet. I mean, he served 78% in 5 sets. And I think he's making a conscious effort to go like 3/4 on the first, so he hits less seconds.
Well, he's been doing
He's,
that for a year, and he's been doing that ever since the injury, and
he
that's why he's
has,
been near 70%.
but he's been over 71% the entire tournament. Like there's not been a match where he's been under 70. You know?
Yeah.
And when he's playing a better player, I feel like he's going to even prioritize that more because he knows,
I don't know.
you know,
I don't know how smart these guys are, man. I'll always bring up. I will forever bring up that somehow Mackie McDonald led the tour in like double fault percentage against. Like I just don't like, which I think shows you like these guys. What I mean, like a lot of times, like a lot. I don't know, like some. It's just really hard to predict like are these guys going to use like the tactics that we think they should. Because it's
I
also really hard, right? When they're in the heat of the moment, like they revert to their instincts.
true.
But it wasn't. But on the flip side, the wind had died down by the night.
Hmm.
Um, it was a stadium match, so there's a little less like um elements to deal with. There's no sun, so like all that's in your favor. So like I don't, like I said, I think it even money, I would have hammered it with you. Minus 115, I was like, okay, maybe. Minus 130, I just didn't love the juice against it. But look, it worked out. He made it easily, so it's clearly the right bet. It was just,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
I
just
never
think
would have gone under for what it's worth, clearly, right? So
if Bovada had it at like 74% at minus 130, then I would be like, but I think it was like 3 to 4 percentage points off. And like when the percentage is that high, that makes a huge difference.
yeah. Yeah, I
So
thought it was like 1 to 1.5 off, which meant that laying the minus 130 wasn't really worth it to me.
okay. All right. I had Medvedev, Zverev over 40 and a half games, over half a tiebreak, and over 5.5 breaks a serve at plus 240. So I had that prop. So that was nice. And I hit the Medvedev money line at plus 105 early in the 5th set, just because like mental gap.
So early in the fifth, he was a plus, I guess, like after Zverev held or something, because Zverev
Right.
served first,
At
right?
Zverev held, and then I hit it. Yep. 0-1. So it was plus 105. But like, I just thought the mental gap is just so massive here. And after losing that 4th set with that ridiculous shank drop shot, remember that?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, especially because he had the points on his racket.
He did. He did. And he lost both points on serve, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did he do at 5-4? I don't even remember.
It may have been
Five all.
4. I
What?
think it was 5-4, actually.
He had 5-4. 5-all was the drop shot.
Right. It gave Medvedev set point.
Yeah. I can't remember what happened at 5-4, but there was some, yeah, but 5-4,
Yeah.
I don't know, they played some, but I thought even then, I thought the 5-4 point too, there was something that was Zverev. I think it might have been another instance where I thought Zverev should have just hammered cross court backhand or something.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he should do on every point because, like, that's his go-to shot. But
Well,
yeah.
especially against Medvedev, who like he didn't have an answer for that all night. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
True.
such is.
But yeah, I was proud of that bet. I wish I put more on it because just mental strain of
Yeah,
losing the
mental
third and
gap.
the
I get
fourth.
it. Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, great day betting. Good. I mean, the second match was fun. Djokovic-Sinner was a little underwhelming. I just wish it was better. Like, you know,
Yeah, I mean, one guy didn't show up, like it's
I know.
unfortunate.
All right, so that brings us to the final.
I guess, Manny,
Yeah.
I guess before we depart, has your opinion of Djokovic or Zverev changed any from the losses?
Mm, Zverev, no. I think he's, kind of he's fully recovered from the injury, obviously. He's a great player, but I just think he just lacks mentally and fails to get over the hump. Like, I also think his forehand is not quite good enough yet, like consistently. Like, he's shown times, like, especially in the Alcaraz match, where he's, done well on the forehand side and, played pretty, like, shown kind of improvement, but I don't think it's consistently good enough. I think his like serve plus one needs to get a lot better. And that kind of has to do with the forehand, right? Because like the forehand is the like very, very few players hit more winners on the backhand than the forehand. You brought that up on multiple occasions, right? So um and I just think he's just lacking that mental like killer instinct, you know?
Yeah. So I'm actually a little more positive on Zverev. I agree with everything you said,
Mhm.
with the exception that I do think he's doing a little better job at the net.
Agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah. He's made some significant improvements. The first serve adjustment where he's getting a higher percentage, so he hits
Yeah.
less seconds and less doubles. That's obviously a good adjustment, you know.
Yeah.
He's made, semis of the French and now semis here. Like, I think he's slightly better than what he was pre-injury, but like if I get, him 12 or 15 to 1 to win one of these events, like I'm not taking that. I need more than 25 to 1 for him to win. I mean,
He was 25-1 here.
yeah, and that's still kind of not good enough.
Yeah, for me, it's not
Because
either. It's like he's like a
yeah,
40 to 50 to 1 gotta win. It's crazy.
exactly. So, and that's where I had him before this event, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
I would need 40 to 1 prior to the event, and I need 40 to 1 now. So, like my opinion of him doesn't
Because
necessarily
the
change.
problem is these top guys are also tough.
Yeah. Yeah. And if he got through Medvedev, like he's
I
probably a bigger dog against Sinner than Medvedev is.
Yeah. I guess that's the flip side is like if there is an injury or two, he's got a much realer shot,
Mm-hmm.
Zverev, because he, you know what I mean? Like, because but yeah, it's going to be tough without an injury or two and a significantly lucky run, or not, or really without an injury or two. It's going to be tough.
It is. It is. As far as Novak, I gotta see more. Like if I see, two or one or two more of these performances in slams, then I'll be like, maybe, father time is approaching, this and that. But like just one poor match in a slam when he's won like 5 of the last 6 slams, like I can't really, you know, say much to be honest. Like it was a poor tournament by his standards, but his standards are astronomically high, So I'm not going to put too much weight into this.
Yeah, I agree with you on Novak. I don't think I don't think you can say too much either way about this, just because it was to your point, like, okay, he played a bad match. Like he's allowed to play one bad match every
He is.
several years.
Right.
Like
Exactly.
um
Um,
yeah.
I don't know if he comes out in the French and loses like, in the quarters or something and, doesn't play great, then maybe.
We talked on the spaces. The one interesting thing we know about to see will be like how does he manage with the Olympics in play this year? And that being he keeps basically mentioning them as equal to the slams almost.
Yep.
And I wonder for him, like especially now that the calendar slam is out of play, does the Olympics become more of a priority? Because that's the last tournament for him to win.
I think it weighs more on him than slams, to be honest, this year.
I would think too, because he'll have more chances to win slams.
Well,
He'll. I mean, I would think he would play still for another year or two, so he'll have a few more chances. Whereas this is his last decent chance to win the Olympics. I gotta think.
but I honestly think like with the Olympics in play, fading Novak at Wimbledon might be a decent look here, you know,
Yeah,
because the transition from clay to grass back to clay is not going to be easy for him, and it's something he's not accustomed to, you know?
he would never ever ever do it, but it would be an interesting speculation to think would he skip Wimbledon
I mean,
to
yeah,
avoid the
he would never,
retrospective.
he would
He
never.
won't. He will never do it. It's a pointless thing to talk about. But
Yeah,
would it be like smart if he's focusing on winning the Olympics? But
it's fair. It's a fair point, but like, people they're used to transitioning from clay to grass, but not from grass to clay. Unless you're playing Golden Sport, or like, the Kitsch Bulls but no, Djokovic never does that, right? So
but I guess on the flip side, he will have one of the Olympics early August. I think it is right. Is the
yeah,
Olympics
late
kind of
July.
so he'll have a few weeks after to transition back.
True, true. Yeah. And he won't play a warm-up tournament before Wimbledon. It will just be Wimbledon, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting like thought. Um, because the Olympics are weighing on him heavy.
I mean,
You
in
know?
my mind, uh, as a tennis fan and as somebody who at this point is rooting for Novak because I want to see him rack up the history, I think
Mhm.
that would be the cool thing for him to win.
Yep.
Like in my mind, the only thing that really matters to me as a tennis fan this year is does he get that gold medal?
Hmm.
Because like, yeah, I guess 25 slams or 26 slams or whatever is better than 24, but like, like at some point it's just a number, right? Like we're
Yeah.
gonna, you know what I mean? Like we're not gonna think that differently of 26 or 27 than 25.
He's
Like,
sealed GOAT status. Like it's not even a question,
yeah, yeah.
And anyone who does question it, like I will look at you and kind of question your tennis knowledge.
Well, I said on the spaces, if you're gonna question it, questioning it with Federer and Nadal is not the right way.
Right.
Like I can maybe craft an argument for like a board because board didn't, and I'm not even saying I would agree with it, but I'm saying like you can maybe craft an
Yeah.
argument for board based on there being really only two major slams and like he did so well on grass and clay and he only played for 6 years and still racked up all those titles. Like I'm not saying you, but like that would be a closer argument to me than anybody else. Was he's clearly dominated his two contemporaries. Not clearly dominated, but he's the
Mhm.
best. And I think it's of those three of the big three
Yeah, it's not even a
he
question.
won, and I don't really know how you could argue that at this point.
Yeah, and I, I'll listen to you if you come up with two Federer or Nadal stats that surpass Djokovic, because then you know your stuff, right? Because then you're weighing that because there are very few stats which he's behind those two guys in right now.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
he's
yeah,
he's even equal to Federer in Grand Slam quarters now at like
yeah.
54 or something ridiculous, but yeah. So I'm not looking too much into this Djokovic. I wonder what his schedule is going to be. He's probably going to play Dubai. Then he's allowed into the United States finally, so he's probably going to play Indian Wells, Miami, I'm assuming, right?
I would assume, yeah.
Yeah. But or maybe he'll just gear up for the clay, but yeah, I don't
Or
know.
maybe
Well,
just he might skip one. He might play Indian Wells, and he might
yeah,
play one of the two and then skip the other.
right. Maybe. Maybe.
He
I
basically
mean,
plays when he wants to at this point. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy because he's the only guy who truly plays, who's at this point has gotten play when you want to status. But
yeah, yeah. All right, you want to get into the final?
sure, yeah, yep.
All right, let's do it. Let me share the screen here. All right, so Sinner-Medvedev final. It's a final we've never seen before. I mean, we've seen this matchup in the past,
Yeah.
but we haven't seen it in a Grand Slam final. I'm excited for it. I always love to see like Grand Slam finals, which we've never seen before. You know, like
Yeah.
I was always craving a Nadal Murray Grand Slam final because we never saw that.
Yeah.
You know, like I just wanted it to happen at some point, but we never got to see it, and we never will. But so I like this slight change. So Sinner is a 4.5 game favorite, minus 290 on the money line. Medvedev is plus 250. The over under is 38 here. The line continues to move in Sinner's favor. Um,
Yeah, it's almost at 5 now.
it's crazy. I mean, it's insane.
I saw 4.5 at plus 105 about an hour ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and it continues to move that way. Piranha asked me, like, what do you think the line is, like early doors? And I said Sinner 4 to 4.5, and that's exactly what it ended up being. It's actually going to be 5, so I'm maybe half a game off. But I know the MP9 and Tidbits, they are all over the Medvedev money line, and I think you got to hit that at this point. You agree with that?
Been debating it. So the way I look at this is like, I mean, Sinner's clearly been the better player, and he's clearly the
Mhm.
deserved favorite. I mean, not just like you could pick this tournament past 6 months, head to head over the past year or so. You could pick almost whatever you want, and Sinner's been the slightly better player. Do I think he's 4.5 games better than Medvedev in a 5 set match? No, I had it more around 3.5. But Medvedev's played 10 million hours, and after seeing Medvedev look a little out of gas against Zverev, each so that's why I can see where this line gets to 4.5 pretty easily. On the flip side, Manny, I agree. There's got to be something given to Medvedev for experience of having been here before. Whereas this is Sinner's first final.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. The problem is like, do we think Medvedev wins this easy? And if not, like, do we think Medvedev can get home in the 5th set physically? Which is crazy to say because usually we'd say it the other way. But just with the amount of tennis Medvedev has played and the way he looked against Zverev, a little bit against Hubie, like he's looked a little bit out on his feet now in a couple of matches. Ooh, I don't
Yeah, but
know.
he has these like second, third wins. Like he can manage himself through a match. I also think it helps knowing that the finish line is pretty close. You know, like it's a final. You just give everything you got. Whatever's in the tank, you give it, you know?
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I don't know if Sinner's going to allow him to manage. Like Zverev sort of allowed him to manage through too because Zverev was also gassed, right? They kind of both managed through.
Fair
This
point.
is this is going to be this might be a lot harder for him to like if he's just giving up holds, it's going to be a lot harder for him to hold back. Um,
Yeah, fair point.
a couple of things I was staring at, like maybe first set money line for Medvedev. Because if Sinner comes out, nervous because it's his first slam final again, there might be something there at plus 160, but I don't know that I necessarily love that price. Was also looking at Medvedev to win 2 sets. I think is like plus 120 or something. I thought that was interesting because then you don't need the physicality as much. And then like Sinner might like if Sinner's up 2 sets to 1, he might choke away 1 set, but not
But you're
multiple.
getting plus, but you're it's plus 120 to win 2 sets, but then it's plus 250 to win the match. Like I understand winning 2 sets and winning the match is different, but like that's a big price gap. Like if he wins 2 sets, that means he's right in the match and he's playing good tennis, you know, and Sinner's a little off, right? That's what that means. So what's telling you that he can't win that third set if you think he can win 2 sets? So I would much rather hit the money line than hit that plus 1.5 sets.
Yeah, I just don't. Again, it's can he get home? Can he get home? Can he play? Because like I don't really see this being 3-0 Medvedev very often.
Yeah.
So if you're betting on Medvedev at the plus 250, you need him to win in the fourth or the fifth set.
Okay.
I mean, that's why it's a really hard. I this is why it's another hard match to cap, and I can see your argument though, Manny, because like I don't necessarily think it's bad. I'm a little more unsure. Like I might even split my unit on between the two sets and the plus 250.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a match I want to go huge on because I don't think this line is that far off. And like the two factors here are Medvedev's physicality or Medvedev's physical. How is Medvedev physically versus how is Sinner mentally. And I really don't have any idea on either of them. They both might be okay. Sinner's had a lot of big wins recently, even though not a slam final, obviously, but a lot of big wins. And Medvedev, yeah, he is pretty mentally and physically tough. So I don't know.
How about the narrative that like Sinner has resolved this head-to-head problem that he has? Like, I still think it's actually a decent matchup for Medvedev. Um, Medvedev likes pace. Um, he's going to get a ton of balls back, so he's going to force Sinner to come up with the goods. Um, even those losses, like at the end of last year, they were all like really close. The one in Beijing was 2 tie breaks. Like the other 2 meetings were 3 sets. I know the third set in the World Tour Finals was a 6-1 set, but like, he's been winning sets off Sinner. It's not like Sinner's blowing him off the court, you know.
That's why I'm not saying I think this is a runaway. You know what I mean? Like I said, I think on the pure tennis, Sinner should be like a three. Like if these guys were just playing in the third round, I
Mm-hmm.
would put Sinner right now as like a 3 to 3.5 game favorite, just based on him playing just
Yeah.
much better in the past, 6 months, right? But because
But
Medvedev's form has not been great, and then that's going on 6 months
but
now.
when do we ever say Medvedev's form is that great? Remember in the Miami, like Sinner was, he just beat Alcaraz, who was on fire, right? Played an insane match, and Medvedev was just kind of squeaking by. He struggled against Eubanks. I think he had a much easier semifinal opponent. I can't remember who off the top of my head, but like from the eye test, was in way worse form. You know,
Yeah, but Sinner kind of ran out of gas that match too, and I'm not really sure. But again, like, was he sick? Was
okay,
what happened there? Like, there was rumors of that. Like, which again is always a concern with Sinner. But
okay. I just think like we can't necessarily go off Medvedev's form per se. Like I think that's overblown because when does he ever look that great, to be honest?
so
He still finds himself in Grand
yeah,
Slam finals. Like leading up to the Alcaraz match at the US Open, we didn't think he was that great either, right? He struggled against Baez, he struggled against O'Connell, like, you know, played a
but it's
great
I mean, but again, he's being given. I mean, like this is saying. I mean, even this money line, right, is telling you he's got between a 25 and a 30% chance of winning. So it's not like people are saying that this is a foregone conclusion or a coronation or something. You know what I mean? This isn't like Berdych Federer or something, or like Anderson
Mhm.
Djokovic. You know what I mean? Like, this is,
Yeah.
where we're saying that Medvedev has a legitimate chance here. And I'm never taking Sinner at the minus 290. I don't think I would ever lay 4.5 games with Sinner, but it's and it's tough with Medvedev because you're right. Like, it's always hard to judge Medvedev's form too because like he does get lazy against players that he's better than a lot of times. So, like, I think that's all fair points. Getting back to the tactics in the matchup, I think that's where like is Sinner going to utilize his newfound tactics, his better movement forward to the net? Is he going to do a better job of utilizing not trying to hit through people but instead hit around them? Like, is he going to do all those smart things that he's been doing more of in the past few months? Or is he going to revert to the old Sinner? If he reverts to the old Sinner, then yeah, I think Medvedev probably does beat him. Um, and I think that's one of the really interesting
Yeah, it's an
things
interesting
to see. You know
element.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Things to watch for in this matchup is to see what Sinner does tactically. Does he again keep his cool mentally? Um, in terms of tactics, I need to, because I think that Sinner's going to be way better off here, especially with the physicality edge, using angled balls, using
Yeah,
angled balls and balls rolled out wide to move Medvedev around the court. I think he's going to be way better off doing that than he is going to be trying to hit through Medvedev.
I agree. I mean, even if there isn't a physicality edge, I think that's the tactic, you know?
Yeah, it's just that Medvedev's a little scary because he can play some of those crazy angles, but
Yeah, but
I feel
consistently over 5 sets, I don't think so.
probably not. Yeah, I agree. I agree. And then especially with the physicality edge, like those are really hard shots to get physically. So every time he hits one of those, it takes something out of him physically.
Mhm.
So, but like you don't know that Sinner's going to go to that. Like Sinner may just mentally go into a mode where he just tries to drill everything. So I don't know. It's one of the interesting things to see in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I think Sinner should be a favorite. I just think it's getting a little bit out of hand. That's what I'm saying, and I got it at plus 245, and I have a lot of pro Sinner props. I mean, we'll get into that pretty soon, but like I just think plus 250 is a little bit too much. Like plus 220 is probably where I would end it, you know? Um I think we have to respect Medvedev here.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
look, I get the argument. You know what I mean? I think
yeah.
like I don't necessarily know that I have too many counters to the things that you argued. Um, so yeah, it's a really tough match to cap because we don't know what Medvedev's physical condition is like, and we don't know what Sinner's mental condition is like. And I think those are the two huge factors.
Mhm.
And right now, I think the physical condition is being weighed in a lot more than the mental condition. And I'm
Mhm.
not sure if that's correct or incorrect.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is the new Sinner. I don't think he's gonna crack mentally if the way he's played the entire tournament. I feel like he's gonna continue doing what he's doing, but like yeah, you're right. It's hard to say. I mean, he might, I've seen Sinner play bad matches in the past, and he might go back to that. So we'll see. As far as these props go, um, I like I like Medvedev under 2.5 breaks of serve at plus 115. Um, and I'm just going off the trend that Sinner, where is it? It's probably down here. It just Sinner has only been broken twice this entire tournament. And I get it that Medvedev is a you know, different player. He's going to get a ton of balls in play, all this, yada, yada. But to only be broken twice all tournament, and you're asking Medvedev to break more here than Sinner has in 6 matches, I think that's a decent line at plus money. You agree with that?
I mean, so the things I'm looking at here are a few things. So A, weather is it's around 70 degrees.
Mhm.
Um, what is the wind like? Basically no wind. Weather's pretty cool. So I think that probably helps that prop. Um, I don't know, man. It's tough to say. Like,
There were no breaks in the Beijing match.
what?
In the Beijing match, there were no breaks. In
Yeah.
the There were plenty of breaks in the Vienna match. And then there were quite a few breaks, but I don't know if Medvedev broke in the Turin match because the one
Yeah.
set that he lost was a tiebreak.
I mean, I don't know. It's tough. I think 2.5 is a pretty good line there, especially. I think the way that's set is pretty right. Like, if I had to guess, my guess is I think Medvedev will get 3 breaks, but maybe not. It's hard to say. Like,
But if you say it's hard to say, then it's a good bet because like if it's plus 115 on the under. right? So
Yeah, but I mean
if you're
that
around the
means that
2.5,
like
I mean, you're the vig.
again, it's really tough. So I guess this is what I would say. If this is a match in the third round, I think the right line would be 3 breaks. The question again, it all comes back to the is Sinner's mental versus Medvedev's physical condition. And like, how do you weight both those? So I probably would stay off of that completely because I don't think
Okay.
like I mean I don't think it's gonna be easy for Medvedev to get breaks, but getting if you think it's gonna go 4 sets, 3 breaks in 4 sets is probably right around reasonable-ish, I think, is where I've got it.
Okay.
So
I mean, it's only a 1 unit play for me. It's not like I'm super confident about it, but I
and
just
if it was
I'm going
three,
off the trends.
if it was under 3 at like even money, I would probably do it.
Okay.
But this is under 2.5. So oof.
Okay. That's fair.
But it's close.
Yeah. Another bet I like here is I like the center to win and both players to win a set at plus 120. Like I think that if you're gonna attack center here, I think that that's the way to do it. Just because like the pure money line is way too juiced, obviously, and then it's hard for me to believe this is gonna be 3-0.
Yeah.
Right? The center 3-1 might be a good look here, but that's probably my favorite pro center play here.
Okay.
So I hit that. I like the center over 51.5% second serve points won because my reasoning for that, where is that bet? It's somewhere. Yeah, right here. Over 51.5% second serve points won. So like Medvedev is not an aggressive returner. He looks to get balls in play and start points, right? But if that ball lands short, Sinner is going to pounce on it. And even if it lands at a decent length, like it's Sinner is the more aggressive player. And especially on serve, you feel more pressure, obviously. So he's going to look to be more aggressive. I think he's going to be around the 55-56% range. Um, so I don't know. I like that line. I think it's a bit low. So in the Beijing match, Sinner won 71% of his second serve points. In the Vienna match, he won 64. Well, he won 50%, but that was exceptionally close. And the line is not indicating that it's going to be that close here. And Sinner has the physical edge, whereas he didn't have that in Vienna. And he still got
Yeah. I
50%. So I think that that's a pretty good line to attack.
think it's tough. So Sinner is his percent against top 10 players
Mm-hmm.
in the past 6 months, I believe. He's
Mm-hmm.
got 12 matches against the top 10 since August.
Mm-hmm.
And in those 12 matches, his second serve percentage has been 54%, which is pretty good.
Okay.
Um, but Medvedev's also one of the better guys on return on tour in general, and even against top guys. In 16 matches against the top 10 in the past year on hard courts, Medvedev has won 52% of his second serve points on return. So
Okay.
I think it's tough. I think the line is pretty close. I actually think it's pretty much spot on. So I'm probably going to be not on that either.
Okay.
But I hear the argument. I mean, like, I guess, you know what? Like, to get over, what is the over 51.5? How much juice do you have to lay?
It's minus 115.
Yeah, probably not. Like if it was like minus 105, I'd probably do it, but it's that close. Because I do think I'd rather be on the over than the under. So I agree with you from that perspective, Manny.
Okay.
I think it probably is like a half point, maybe like a point off or something. But like maybe even a point and a half, 2 points off. But like, is that enough to lay minus 115? I don't know. Ugh.
How was Medvedev at defending his second serve? Like the under 44 and a half for Medvedev actually seems enticing.
Um,
He won 40% of his second serve points in the World Tour Finals meeting. In the Vienna meeting, Medvedev won, wow, he won 70% of his second serve points.
yeah, I mean, that one I think I'd be tempted on too. Um, I don't know. Again, like I think I'd rather be on the under than the over there. But so I agree with you in general. I just don't know if I'm like willing to lay the minus 115 to do it.
Yeah, in two of their three head-to-head matches, Medvedev was over that number.
But Medvedev also can have the double fault issue.
True. But that's a very small percentage, right? It's not like it's a big percentage.
I mean, when he has it, if he double faults, I mean, if he double faults his normal, what is
Was
his
it
norm?
6% of the 5% of the time?
Yeah, I mean that's like, and that's not that's 5 or 6% of total points, so it's probably like I don't know what that is
Yeah.
like that's more than that on second serves. If he's giving away like 8 to 10% of the points just giveaways, that 44 and a half becomes tough to get over.
Yeah,
So
what about the Medvedev under 72.5% first serve points won? Because like Sinner's returning hell really well. I know Djokovic didn't serve well, but I was shocked at the quality of his returns.
yeah, I mean,
Medvedev only won 65% of the first serve points in Vienna at the World Tour Finals. Medvedev won 79%, but that's a really quick court, so I'm not weighing that one too much. And then he won 75% of first serve points in Beijing.
well, what is the percentage?
It's 72 and a half.
See, that's actually pretty low. Sinner's only gone over that. Well, it's pretty well set. I mean, it's pretty well set. Like,
Yes.
because even
I,
against Rublev won 76% of first serve points.
mm, yeah. Yeah, that's gonna sway me. Because the double faults are out of it because you're just counting first serve points.
Yeah, and Medvedev does have a good first serve.
He does. He does. Yeah,
I'm not
I'll
tempted
stay
to
away
go
from
the
that
over
one.
there. But again, it's such a tough match because, like, I'm just gonna go back to what I said before. Like, even all these props, right? They sway so much based on Sinner's mental versus Medvedev's physical.
Mm, yeah.
Um, I thought the time was really interesting. The time prop.
Mm,
It's up to 3.5 hours.
ooh. Which is crazy to me that this prop is higher than the Djokovic the Djokovic Sinner one.
Right. So that's what I agree with. So has it overcorrected too much and now the under's the right play? And
Yeah.
especially if
Med
either guy does get tired and needs to resort to like giving away some free games after they fall down 30 love.
yeah.
So I think the under's a tempting play there.
I'm gonna hit that.
I probably will too. Um,
I like the over 1.5 match points. Like Medvedev, when he's feeling tight, he can do some dumb stuff. He can like throw in a double, right? Like if Medvedev has match point, like we saw it in the Djokovic match, he was up 5-2 in the third.
Yeah.
He did some dumb stuff and then he closed it out in the next service game. But like, I think that's a look. Plus, Sinner has never won a slam. Like there's going to be some tightness there. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to hit that too. Plus 115 over 1.5 match points. Like I think that should be even money on both ends. But that's me. Are you going to hit the under on the time?
Probably. That's what I'm leaning on. Um,
Okay.
the can you go for the total points and the total break points? Been kind of gnawing on that. 18 and a half break points.
You leaning the over or the under there?
It's probably pretty well set. The more
I
I
think
think
so
about it.
too. I think it's well set.
Um,
Where is it? Yeah, break points.
Total points in the match, 253 or 252 and a half.
I mean, that's an extension of the over under, right? It's
Yeah.
even more of a direct correlation than time,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
I think if I'm gonna play one, I'm probably gonna play the time because
Yeah.
yeah.
How about these other props like that they put up here? They're a gazillion. It's insane.
Yeah, one I was thinking about that's like
Mhm.
pretty straightforward. But Sinner to win and Medvedev to have most aces in doubles is at plus 110. All three of those things should happen,
They should.
especially given how hard Medvedev is to ace and the fact that like Sinner really doesn't double that much. Not as much as
Mhm.
Medvedev.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm thinking about. That's like a pretty boring one, but
Yeah, that's pretty good. I still prefer the Sinner to win and both players to lose or both players to win a set at plus 120.
yeah, that's probably a fair one.
Yeah.
It's funny. The first point to be an ace is there at 12-1, but I think I saw that before. So I mean, yeah, but
Oh, first point to
um,
be an ace. I have the Sinner to not be broken at 9-1.
I don't think that's terrible. Like if Medvedev just doesn't have it physically, right? Like
Yeah. I have Sinner to win a point in every return game at 6-1.
seems a little low to me.
A little low, but it's only half a unit play.
Yeah.
Um, Sinner to break serve in every set at plus 163. So I got a lot of pro Sinner stuff. I just still like the money line, the Medvedev money line, kind of as a hedge almost to all these props. Oh, this one's interesting. The Sinner plus 3.5 ace spread.
Only plus 3.5.
I think Sinner is underratedly hard to ace. Or
Let
am
me
I just getting
see.
swayed by how poor Djokovic served?
I mean, no, this is I'm looking up the stats on this now. I mean, we know
Mhm.
Medvedev's near the top of hard to ace guys.
Yeah.
Um, Sinner is Sinner's right at the average.
The average.
Yeah. Which makes sense. Like he's long, but he's not like particularly um I don't know. Like I don't think he's like particularly almost particularly anything when it comes to things that would make him like tough to ace, you know?
Yeah, if you hit your spot, you're gonna ace him.
Yeah. Like he's
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
and he's like, he doesn't stand far back like Medvedev does. Like,
Mm-hmm. It is juiced to that end, but like it's not like a high confidence play, but I don't know. I'm giving credit to Sinner's return game.
yeah,
So I don't know. Any potential place of the day? I mean, I don't know. It's hard to
I don't
pinpoint
think so.
one.
It's just it's too tough of a match to it's too tough of a match to like
Yeah.
to call. I think to have like things I really like. I'd rather have a bunch of props and be a little bit smaller on all of them and have like a smaller amount of money invested and just have because like I think it'll be a fun match to watch, but I don't think it's gonna be a match where I'm gonna have want to have like a ton invested.
Mm-hmm. It's like I remember, looking back to Vienna last year and Beijing, and I think we were getting like minus 120 on Medvedev. Sinner was like plus one. I think, yeah, Sinner was like plus 105 and Medvedev was minus 120, something like that in that area, or minus 125. And you were all over
Yep.
the Medvedev money line. And
Yep.
you're like, this is a terrible matchup and this and that, right? And like, it's crazy how a couple months have just like changed our outlook. And I don't necessarily think that that's true. Like, it's only been a couple months.
I
I
hear
still
you.
don't think this is a great matchup for Sinner. I mean, I'm on a lot of Sinner props. Don't get me wrong, and like I think his form and the physicality edge is going to come back here to bite him here. But if Medvedev is feeling 100% and he's flying around the court like he normally does, like this could be a 50-50 match.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree.
so I don't know. I think that the Medvedev money line is like if I was playing something here, like fully confident, or like had a GBM kind of play, that would probably be it, just as a pure price play.
Yeah, and I might get there. I'm still debating it in the last few hours before the match. Like,
Yeah.
but but yeah, it would only be as a pure price play because I don't know that I necessarily like believe in it, you know?
Mm-hmm. The under 9.5 is actually an interesting look given I think center likes to serve first. I'd have to ask Pirano on that, but I feel like center will serve first here. No?
Um, I think it's pretty likely, yeah. So that could be a good play.
And it's plus 120 as
Yeah, that's a
well.
fair point.
No. All right. Well, that does it for the preview. I mean, it's sad that we don't have a GBM play here. We didn't
I
have one
mean,
for the
it's always
semis.
having a GBM play, but I don't expect to have a GBM play for too many finals, to be honest. It's just
Yeah.
like it's just again like especially one like this where it's such a like we've seen these guys play so much, like, it's just tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like and like
Yeah.
it's the one time of the year too, and like there's news. You've seen the guys play the previous matches. Like, there's nothing to sneak one over on anyone here.
I know. I
Like
know.
usually we need some sort of advantage. There is no
Yeah.
advantage here.
But I feel like we've had GBM plays in finals in the past,
We have.
right? Like just
Yeah.
going over, I want to see our plays from last year. Um,
I think last year we played the Medvedev money line in the US Open final.
oh yeah, that's right. So we had last year in this Wimbledon semis, we had Sinner over 1.5 breaks against Djokovic, which didn't come through. And we had Alcaraz minus to win in straight sets at plus 225 against Medvedev. That was a great bet.
In
Remember that?
Wimbledon, yeah.
Yeah. And then the US Open. Oh, the semi, we had Shelton Djokovic over 9.5 in the first set that didn't come through. And we had the Alcaraz money line and no tie breaks at plus 140. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another thing here. Like remember in that Alcaraz Medvedev match, we were like, oh, Alcaraz, is gonna beat him. The matchup is so great. This and that, and it didn't come through. And like Medvedev just kind of went octopus mode,
Yeah.
you know? And I just like think when he's such a big dog on a hard court, it's scary,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? On a quick hard court too. It's not like Indian
I mean,
Wells.
he was a similar dog to this against Novak at the U.S. Open final, and he got whipped. So it can
It's
go
no
both
back.
ways. But I hear you.
Yeah. Um, yeah, we didn't have any in the US Open final. We didn't have that Medvedev money line. I don't think it was 2 units worthy. Like we both hit it, but it wasn't like 2 units worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. Other than that, in finals, we've been pretty light on finals, so kind of continues with
Yeah. Finals are tough to bet, man.
they
I
are. They are.
I feel like you see a lot more interesting stuff to bet in the first couple rounds of matches,
Yeah.
the first couple rounds of
True.
tournaments,
True.
which we'll get with Montpellier.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the 250 life. 250 life,
Yeah.
baby. It's coming up.
Speaking of which, what a weird draw.
It is a weird draw.
You got like, did I see like Munar's playing Pedro in the first round?
Ugh. There's a lot of matches that are just like eyesores.
Yeah, Munar. Like, how is Pedro even in the tournament? Like, I thought his ranking tanked. I guess only to 109. I guess it's
Yes.
better than I thought.
Like Gaston and Shapovalov, like really?
I mean, that actually could be kind of interesting to watch, though. It's an interesting style matchup, and like, at least Chapo has talent. That's better than Munar Pedro.
Yeah. I actually
Or
think
like
it's a good
Zapata
spot.
versus Leshen.
I think that's a good spot to hit Gaston. It's minus 110 both ways.
Yeah,
It's in France. Remember,
true,
it's in
true.
France.
Yeah, true, true. I probably will be on Julio Gaston.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Kazo is only a 2 game favorite against Martyr on first glance. That looks great.
Yeah.
Like Andy Murray and Benoit Paire. Like really? Ugh. I'm on a qualifying parlay tomorrow. I'm on Nardi money line, Cressy money line, and Martineau money line at plus 170. It's just a money line parlay.
Okay.
I just don't see how either any of those guys lose. Like Cressy on indoor courts, he made the final here last year.
Yeah.
Um, Sversina is just
You
super
really like
underpowered.
betting Maxime Cressy matches.
I do, I do. I most of the time I like fading him, but when it's indoors when there's no wind,
Yeah,
then I
I
don't
get it.
mind backing him.
Yeah, I agree.
And now the books have adjusted and they're not like overvaluing him anymore. So I like that.
Yeah.
I also like betting Nakashima matches. Like I like fading him because he still gets overvalued, I feel. Like people still view him as like a top 50 player
Well, I don't think anybody thinks he's top 50.
or top 70. Like even the pre-tournament, the preseason line, they were like, Nakashima to be in the top 75 at year's end was like even money.
That's true.
Like they view him as someone good and he's just not. Like he lost to Leandro Righty in a challenger match today, like handily,
Yeah.
So he's not like that good. He just is not athletic. That's the problem.
Yeah, I agree.
So I like fading him as well. So I mean, it hasn't been that great because he won last week's challenger and he made the semis in this week's challenger, but like overall, I think it's a decent look. Um,
Do you think that Montpellier is going to be a Bublik week? It's indoors.
the random Bublik week.
No, like it's indoors. It's a weak draw, man.
It might be, man.
Like the best guy in the bottom half of his bracket. The other seeds in his bracket are Shevchenko, FAA, and Murray. And like Shevchenko's made improvements, but he still isn't amazing. I still wouldn't say he's top third. Like He's
No,
miles
no.
above anybody else in his bracket. Besides Runa.
Got to see the price.
Yeah, fair.
But if I get like 6 or 7 to 1 for him to win the event, I'd probably go there.
I mean, it's only 4 matches he's got to win.
Yeah. I actually think if he plays Runa in the final, that's a good matchup for Bublik.
I think so too.
Especially because Bublik plays better in semis and finals. Like for me, for us, it's like, can he get to the semis?
Well, he's okay in semis and finals. He's just like he's good. He's solid in semis and finals. But a lot of guys aren't. Yeah,
But
I
as
get
the
your point.
paychecks get higher, his motivation gets higher. Seems
Yes,
to
yeah,
be a correlation.
yeah,
Well, not necessarily because in slams he can tank too. So Bublik is just an enigma. But yeah, against the higher ranked guys, he should be favored. Like, or not favored, but like I would back him against FAA. I would totally back him
yeah,
against Brune. I would totally back him against Korich. I would back him against Murray. I would back him. So like, yeah, if we get even maybe like 5 to 1, I think would be a good price. I'd probably take that.
yeah. It's either that or you got to look like way down the board. Like
Yeah,
I don't even know who you look at then. Like Lamont, maybe if Lamont is interested, he could be a look.
I think he's a good look to win that quarter.
Okay, fair.
Like, who does he lose to in that quarter? Like, Kaboli is probably the biggest threat.
Well, Kaboli could. I mean, yeah, he could lose to Kaboli, and he'll lose to Corch. It could probably be a random Corch week too. You never know.
It could be,
A
but
lot of guys, so it could be
points
a
out.
random week for them in this tournament.
I know. Like, Arthur Cazzo could be a look here.
I just think you're not going to get that good of a price on him. Like,
Yeah, I know. I know. People are high on him right now.
well, yeah, I mean, he's coming off such a good. He's coming off a great Australian, right? Like,
And then this top quarter is like, yuck.
yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we also have Davis Cup, right? It's your favorite Davis Cup
Oh
quarter.
yeah. Oh, Davis Cup is great. This is the fun week of Davis Cup.
It is. It is. It starts on what, Thursday,
I
I believe?
think yeah, there's a few Thursday matches.
Yeah, so
I think
we'll
it's
look for
mostly
some
Friday,
value.
Saturday, Sunday, but I think there's a few Thursday matches.
It's going to be hard to pot on that because like the lines come out so quickly.
Yeah, that probably won't be a potable thing. It's
So,
okay.
but we'll post it on Discord and Twitter.
Yep.
All right, everyone. So that does it for our preview show. I apologize that you guys won't have too much time to listen, but like life got in the way, and we'll make sure we post it now so you guys have 2 hours before, and we'll post our bets on X as well. I think I already did.
Yeah. I'll post stuff when I have it.
Yep. All right,
All
everyone. Have
right.
a good
Thanks,
night. Enjoy
everyone.
the match.
Have a good night. Enjoy the final.